too are losing their counties. The whole thing really has got to a stage now where the people of the world, not just Britain and America, but the people of the world are being treated just like serfs. And, well, we think it's about time it stopped, to be honest.
Yeah, about the regions, we've got, I think America too has got localism. We've got regionalisation and localism. I think America's also got a lot of the Gulen schools. Now, it's interesting because the Gulen movement, it started about 40 years ago apparently, and the Dialogue Society, who speaks for them, has informed us that the big society, you might have heard of that, which is the new localization, regionalization, privatization, which involves volunteering, charities. That was an idea which came from Fethullah Gulen. So we're both under the influence there, which I find a bit strange. This guy seems to be internationally known. We've also got, you've got the health reforms coming in. We've also got health reforms which they're trying desperately to push through, and the date to get them through is 2015. Now that ties in nicely with a World Health Organization pandemic. Now, what do you say? It's a paper they've written for all kinds of things to come in by 2015. And it's basically not just pandemic, any national disaster, which you seem to have FEMA for, and we have NEMA. We don't know a lot about NEMA, apart from the fact it's in Bicester, in Oxfordshire, in England, and I think the title says it all, because it's the National Emergency Mortuary Arrangements. And it came in 2006, which was the same time as this World Health Organization paper for national disasters came in. So it does look as though they're all working together. NEMA is run by KBR. The Home Office gave the project to KBR, which used to be Halliburton, and I think your FEMA camps are under the auspices of Halliburton, so we have a reasonable link there. The sad thing about this pandemic is that it's the language they use. They use incredible language. I've got a pandemic .gov PDF in front of me, and the language, it's a bit difficult to decipher, but it sort of ties in with the way the health reforms are going, where some people are screaming, they're privatising, but it's more than that. It gives information of what to do in the event of a disaster of the kind of a pandemic on here, and it talks about stillbirths, and how you will be allowed to record or register a stillbirth, and you'll be able to register it by telephone, and with more than 3 months grace to register it. Now, this seems really strange. They've also got stakeholders. All the people who deal in death, they're all given different little jobs to do. Well, they're all different corporations, and they have to share equally in the management of death. I know it sounds strange, but at the end of the document here, it says, let me just find it again, I've just lost it. It says, when the OFT, or the Office of Fair Trading, or the European Commission finds a breach of competition law, they may impose financial penalties of up to 10% of worldwide turnover. company directors may also be disqualified.
So, in terms of the pandemics, I mean, we've already had, I think, just before Christmas and certainly in January, we had the press starting to talk about swine flu again, and you know how it's and possibly and somebody died of bird flu. I think one guy in China or Vietnam, somebody died of bird flu. So that was put out in the mainstream media as a major threat, you know.
Absolutely, Neil.
And of course, we've also been talking about the scientists, scientists, I don't know, lunatics, I think you call them, bragging about the fact that they've reconstituted these viruses and weaponized them and saying how wonderful it is, and stating that they were going to actually put the information online so anybody could make it. So then they could then blame it on so-called terrorists releasing a bioweapon into the atmosphere or into the underground or whatever. And you know, it's nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. We just put the information out there.
Yep.
You know, so it's obvious that they do plan to release something, and they've already got it in the wings, ready and waiting. But you know, hopefully there's enough people starting to wake up and keeping an eye on these people.
Absolutely.
That I mean, all we can hope is we can delay it as long as possible so that more people wake up and finally we can get rid of these people one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really nasty phrase in there. It's called smooth death management. Now, if anybody needed proof that we are actually corporate fiction, I think they've got it. When they read this, we are really not people. We're not classed as people, as human beings with souls. We are a piece of corporate whatever to be used. I think you read this and you can see it. It's sad.
We do suggest that people listening to the programme should start researching themselves. There is so much information on the internet, which is obviously why they want to close it down. And you need to do your own research. Just put in FEMA if you're in America, or NEMA if you're in Britain, and find out for yourself just what they're planning for us. It is absolutely horrendous. I don't know whether your listeners have ever watched, or obviously they watch films, but they should watch two films in particular. One is Soylent Green, very old film, which shows what's going to happen to us if they get their way, and the other is Endgame. And those two films will show you exactly what's planned for us. And if you've any doubt that they're planning it, you only need to go onto their own website, because they don't even bother to try to hide it anymore. Everything that they were doing was done in secret, but in the last 10 years they've become so confident we can't stop them that they now just put it on their website. So just research for yourselves and find out that what we're saying is true.
Well, I think the film Soylent Green, I'm sure many of the listeners to this program will have seen it, but you can get it. It is out there, and basically it transforms human beings into food.
Yeah.
For the rest of the people, and in that film, I think it was made in the early 70s. It's actually supposedly depicting a globally warmed planet. It's always hot and the power goes off, all that kind of nonsense that they've been talking about for the last 30 years. Yeah. And that was made back in the 70s, where we're going to be eating ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that also ties in with what they've been saying recently about, there was a thing called somation, where they basically liquefy your body and spray it into the garden or onto a field or something and use it as fertilizer. So basically, there's your Soylent Green, but it's actually going into the soil, into the food that we're supposed to be eating. It's going to be, fertilized by human bodies.
Yeah.
They're also talking about using the power from the crematoriums to power stations, aren't they? Fuel stations.
Oh yeah,
There was also a project coming from Brussels where they were going to I think they were going to put it into the water, weren't they?
Yeah.
Going to put the ash from crematoria into the
water as well.
Yeah, they ran that past us a while ago. It's all to dehumanise, I think.
Well, of course, that's cannibalism, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It is. Well, I mean, besides cannibalism, they're now coming out. I've seen this in a few places over the past year, where they're now telling us that insects are the way to go. Got to eat insects because meat's unsustainable. And I think even in the film Soylent Green, meat was a rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to, well, the guy depicted in it was a policeman who could basically steal what they wanted, whatever they wanted,
Yeah.
and do as he pleased. But the elites could get it no problem at all. But, yeah, I mean, eating insects, that's a new dietary.
Well, the European Union are putting 4 billion into that process now, eating insects.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's absolutely horrendous, I tell you. What they've got planned for the people is so horrendous. If we don't stop them, I shudder to think what my grandchildren are going to be facing. I really do.
Yeah, mine too. I did say, I mean, this is, it would be comical if it was so serious. But they said last year, I think wasn't too long before Christmas, that, for people suffering from obesity, which is the vast majority of it, that the cheapest sandwich you could make was a bread sandwich. That's all it consisted of, was just two slices of bread with a slice of bread in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh.
You toasted a bit in the middle just to make it taste a little different, but it was a bread sandwich. And they said that'll save you money.
Yeah. You had a terrific, well, not terrific, but it was great to see you showed it on the Sovereign Independent UK website. You had a video on there, Neil, which showed a museum of kinds, or an exhibition, which showed human body parts hanging around.
That exhibition is called Bodies, I think it's called. And
okay.
I was in Budapest about 3 years ago, and it was on there. And I walked past it, and the queue was enormous, and it was all these young people just going in to gawk at these bodies.
But if you notice, it shows you the good bits and the bad bits. The bits people who do wrong, like smoking or drinking. It showed the bad bits, and I think as well it was to dehumanize. They really need body parts soon, and they want the best bits. They're going to be swapping body parts, or willy-nilly, and that's something I can't ever get my head around, because I honestly believe when you go from here, you take every bit with you. It's destroyed, but you have to go as a whole soul. You can't leave a bit of you living on in someone else. Well, that's just a spiritual matter. But children aren't being taught to be spiritual these days at all. And I really don't like the way it's going.
No, I mean, even if you go back to ancient cultures, that was always the way, that your whole body had to go with you. And I think there was a movie called Kingdom of Heaven, where one of the ladies set in the time of the Crusades, and one of the characters had committed suicide. She was a woman, and to stop her passing on to heaven, they chopped her head off, so that she wasn't a complete being. And that's along the same lines as this. If you, I mean, you've got to help anybody that's carrying around a donor card, because they're just submitting themselves to be basically taken apart and handed out to whoever wants it, whether they're really ill enough to want one in the hospital in the first place. They'll certainly be kept in there, and if the body parts are more valuable than the treatment, then tough. You ain't going to get treated. You're going to be left to die, and your body parts will be removed before your relatives even get to see you dead, I think.
Basically being harvested, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how we're thought of. We're thought of as animals, aren't we? So we've just been bred for our use to those who want to use us. And that's what goes in any walk of life.
Nasty stuff, Neil.
Yeah.
We've also, Neil, we've hit on something else. The repossessions in America, they've been dreadful. We noticed that in Greece, they've taxed them. They put a property tax on the Greek people. Now these are people who've had their homes for generations. They've passed them down. They've lived in them quite happily. Now they've put this property tax on them. They're all losing their homes. and you can see a pattern